Okay.
Awesome. So this week we get to hear from the queen of all of the developmental editors, Miss Honda. This is other people in the room. And she's going to talk to us about connecting with your DE. So take it away.
All right. Well, I'm Shonda Lane, and I'm not actually generally called the queen of developmental editing, nor Eric calls me the DE whisperer, so that works too. So that's awesome. But what we're here for as developmental editors is to really help you achieve a certain clarity with the ideas in your book. And so it's not just about how you write, it's also about how you communicate with your reader. So you could be the most amazing writer in the world, but if your idea isn't getting across to the reader, we haven't helped you in the way that we need to. So that's what DEs focus on. And we do that through helping you refine your content. And sometimes that's pointing out where you need more dialogue or depth or detail. And sometimes that's in saying, this is fantastic detail that no one's going to read because it's too sidebar from the point where you're going. And so we'll need to take that out. So don't be surprised if your DE suggests either additions or they go in and say, you know, this is a great paragraph on cats, but your book's about dogs. Let's use the cat paragraph. And that's a pretty simple example, but those are the kind of things that we're looking for kind of all the time when we read stories. Now, one of the things that we're here to do is to provide answers to you to keep you moving forward with your book. So if you have any questions on anything from, are these interview questions going to help me get to where I want to go in this interview? Is this going to help me get to the information I want to get to with this person I'm going to talk to? Have I pulled the right quotes from the story? To, you know what, I just feel stuck and I need to talk it out. Can you get on the phone with me for 10 minutes and talk it out? That's what your DE is there for. We don't just read stories. We will talk with you. We will chat with you online. We will do what we need to help you keep moving forward. Because if you get bogged down, then you won't be able to finish your book. And we don't want to see that. We want to see you be as successful as possible with this. So, and the way that works, and the most important thing in working with your DE is communication. So, like I just got off a phone call with another author in a different group who wants to know what direction to go in his book, but I can't really help him with the direction on his book because he doesn't have a clear idea and he's never posted any stories. And because he can't communicate the direction or show me what he's writing, I can't help him get there. The written things, even if it's not perfect and you're worried about, oh my gosh, you know, what if the commas are in all the wrong place? First of all, a DE doesn't care. We don't look at commas or spelling or anything like that. We look at content. So don't worry about making something perfect. Just worry about putting something on paper. So we want to look at whatever you're doing to help you get where you need to go, as well as to have the information to help you when you have those questions. So anytime you write something or put something on Quip, tag your DE. That's what they're there for, is to take a look at that and to help you move forward. Do either of you or anybody in there have any questions about not just DEs, but about editing or the program or different things that you've encountered so far?
I don't think so.
No. Have you guys been able to connect with your DE?
Yes.
Not yet? Okay. Okay, tonight. Yeah. Awesome.
No, that's fantastic. And the thing is with our DEs is that we're always available. So if you leave a message and you get an answer in a day or two, you know, and you can ask for a phone call. If you just want one, you can ask for a phone call. You're not limited to just the first phone call up front or to a certain number of, hey, can you help me? That's unlimited and that's open to you. So don't be afraid that if you have questions or you want that extra chat, to go ahead and ask for it and make sure that you let the DE know, because they will set up that time to spend with you. And so we're really here to help you in any way that you need.
What sort of advice would you give to someone who's having trouble prioritizing writing time?
The thing about writing is, and this is a great quote that you'll hear a lot from Stephen King, you'll hear it from Neil Gaiman, and not just fiction authors, but you'll hear it from a lot of nonfiction authors as well, is that writing is a habit. It's not just something you do when the muse takes you. You'll hear that a lot. Oh, I don't feel inspired. Nobody ever feels this, but nobody feels inspired to wash the clothes, but you still have to do it. So if you've made the commitment to write the book, the first thing that you can do to help yourself is to set aside a particular time every day, even if it's only 20 minutes, only 30 minutes, and use the time and say, I'm going to write. And the truth is, even if you sit there and stare at a blank screen or stare at a blank page, you've taken that time. So the next day when you sit down, you're more prepared to write. And the day after that, you're more prepared to write because this is what you do at that time. For some people, it's easier to establish that pattern first thing in the morning. I know several authors, especially fiction authors, who actually write for an hour before they get out of bed. They have a computer that sits on their nightstand and they bring their laptop over and they write for an hour before they even get out of bed. I also know several that, okay, I do X number of things until noon and then I write from noon to 6. And that's just what they do. Now, granted, you're in a slightly different position because those are professional authors. And so you don't necessarily have 6 hours to just blow sitting around going, I'm working on the great American novel. It's okay. That's okay. We know that. But it helps if you make it a habit. That way you have a dedicated time either every day, or if it works better for you, you have 3 days a week where you set aside and go, this hour, I have this hour between 2 classes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I can write in that hour every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday and almost make it, another study time or another class time. That way it works naturally into your schedule and you don't find yourself during deadlines scrambling to try to come up with, hey, my 20,000 words are due Friday, so I'll just stay up from Wednesday until Friday at some all-night diner and pound out 20,000 words. And that's, no one will enjoy that. No one will like that experience.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that because that sounds like something I would do.
The all-night diner or the make it a habit?
Oh, the all-night diner.
If it works for you, great. But it doesn't actually work for a lot of people. What ends up happening is they get there that Wednesday night and they start writing, and Thursday afternoon sometime they do something weird like just fall asleep or give up. And
fall asleep or give up.
No, those are the big ones. They fall asleep or give up. And, and there's really, if you can help it at all, it's best not to end up in that situation so that you're not desperate and scrambling when you're like, oh, I could have been done with this for a week or 2 weeks.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, do you have anything else? Any other words of wisdom? Anyone have any other questions? Okay, cool. No other questions in here.
Well, I think for you, what's going to come up next is scribe writing.
Yes.
And so I think for people who are struggling making writing a habit, this will actually be a great technique that will allow you guys to talk your way through some of these stories and some of these things that may be hanging you up.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have any questions about that, all of your DEs are familiar with scribe writing. So you can ask your DE any questions you have about scribe writing or Otter or how to set that up. So, but if you guys don't have any other questions, I want everybody to know that you can always tag me directly. You can tag your Wrangler. You can tag your DE on anything you want. And just let us know if you need us.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a great night.
You too.
You too.
So I think when she was referring to your Wrangler, that might be me. But feel free if that's what she meant. I think it is. Feel free to tag me, Chanda. Chanda Elaine Spurlock. She's there. She should be in your updates room too. You have an updates room, right?
Haven't. Yeah, because I see like a lot of people are being tagged, but I don't necessarily know who they are.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
like, I'll just assume they're on the team. Like,
okay.
People they're like watching over me.
Yeah.
Like my angels.
So we haven't done today since Chanda kicked us off. We haven't gotten a chance to do our one cool thing. And so my one cool thing for the week is I was actually able to sit down and organize my thoughts. Yay. So while I took something I think that was mentioned last week, which was even if you don't write and you can get yourself organized and all your ideas organized, that's still, a good start. And I was like, okay, fine. And I actually was able to, I figured out that the research dashboard is for secondary interviews.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I hadn't put 2 and 2 together for so long, but I figured that out and I was like, that makes so much more sense.
Yeah.
Organize that, organize my interviews dashboard, and organize my stories index. And now, because I had so many random ideas that I had written down on all these different little notepads.
Yeah.
And I was finally able to consolidate them into my stories index. And now I have like 30 story ideas, which is really great. Yeah, so I just need to write them. But now I have these concrete ideas and directions to go, which makes me feel really good. Yay.
Structure.
Yeah. What about you?
I didn't really do much of anything this week, but I am going to connect with my editor tonight
Mhm.
for the commitment and give her something that I've written. So
Good.
yeah,
Yay.
that's my one cool thing for the next few hours, I guess.
Awesome. Yeah, having something written in the first 2 weeks is a marker for success.
Me, I guess I've had a couple. I guess the first one is I got my first story in.
Woo.
I've already talked to my editor over the phone. Super great. Get along. We have the same dog breed. The same dog breed. But I guess the coolest thing that happened this past week is that Mackenzie and I went to this speakeasy thing for museum professionals and just kind of networked. And I ended up setting up an interview with that guy.
From the Bullock?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it just kind of helped me sort of the direction that I want to go, because I'm thinking I'm shifting towards the technology
Cool.
part of it, because obviously when you talk about the future museums, the technology plays a big part in that. So I guess that was the coolest part for me, just making connections with all those people, and those people themselves can help, they even said, connect us with so many more people. So it's just more that was the coolest thing for me.
Yeah. Awesome. Yay. All right. So now I'm going to go into, I should probably share my screen. I'm going to go over some slides. So we did our one cool thing. We had a conversation with Chanda, and today we're going to talk about scribe writing, which is kind of neat. This is the second method of writing we've talked about so far. Last week we talked about, oh my goodness, why am I totally blanking? Not nugget writing, that's next week.
It was
Scribe.
stories, how to do dialogue, descriptive elements.
Oh yeah, the 7 types of stories, writing that way. Yes, yeah, that was
Story
last week.
inventory.
Yeah, doing a story inventory. So this week the scribe method is, well, all right, I'll read what the slides say. You're writing over 2,000 words of story, 20,000 words of stories, and you may get to a place when the words stop flowing, or you just stop feeling like writing, or you start to think you've no longer got a book in you. No! Introducing the Scribe, otter.ai, which is a website. You can sign up and you can get a free account. And what you can do is create yourself a little interview guide and either be interviewed or have a self-interview where you transcribe via Otter. So what happens is you hit the record button, Otter listens to you, and at the end of it has produced all the words that you've said. Yeah. So it's like a scribe like they have in courtrooms who sit there and type everything that's said. That's what Otter's doing when you start talking. So this one's pretty neat. Pretty handy, especially if you like to just talk it out. And then before you know it, you've got thousands of words in front of you that you can just re-edit, reorganize, and do whatever, but your story might be right there.
And they have it on the phone as well.
Yes.
Cool.
So what you can do is you can either interview yourself or you can have a friend say, tell me this story of the time that you blank or that so-and-so told you. And then you relay it, and then it's there. Thanks to Otter. Yeah. It won't work to just turn on your recorder and start talking, apparently. It's actually worse to take content you've recorded and transcribed and trying to edit it into your book as if it's disorganized. So that's stuff you've already recorded.
So it has to be live.
Yeah. So to prevent that, invest up front in your interview guide. So that schedule a 30-minute recording session and spend 45 to 60 minutes on an interview guide. Schedule 1 hour recording session and spend an hour and a half or more on your interview guide. So that's creating an interview guide to help guide yourself so that when you start talking, you don't have like a lot of random like ums and kind of things like that. Man, I wish that Eric was telling us all this stuff because I remember this session, but I'm gonna be honest, like I'll post the slides later. So create a story inventory, which is what we talked about doing last week, where you have that little index and then you're able to like fill in all the little questions. And then you use that to create your interview guide to help you speak when you're talking to Otter. Turn the pieces and parts into stages and questions, like the parts that we talked about last week where like the different parts of the story. So in like a comedy, for example, there's often a anticipation stage where there's like a call to action or there's different parts. We have like that whole index that not the index, the like Excel sheet. It's not an Excel sheet.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
The sheet that has all the different types of questions and stories and so you'll use those to turn into questions. So you get interviewed, you talk conversationally, go deep and go into detail, and then ask questions to clarify stuff. So if, for instance, if someone's interviewing you and they're like, wait, I didn't totally get that, that's actually really great because that forces you to go into detail and say something that you might not have otherwise said so that the reader can understand you. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Because you understand it because you're the author. It's your brainchild. But if someone is reading it and goes, wait, what? Like, that's not what you want. So then you'll transcribe it. So now what we're going to do for the rest of the time is, pretty much the rest of the time is workshop this. So we're going to work together to make sure this all makes sense, build interview guides, and then get interviewed by someone else. So you guys can pair up and do a little recording thing real quick.
It's gonna be close.
Enjoy the adventure. Okay, cool. Let's see here. Stop share and pause recording. Okay, wait, say that one more time. So I just asked if everyone was able to do Otter okay, and Madison was about to say something really insightful.
Let me hear it.
Writing like this book, I just never expected, I guess, to interview myself. I just kind of expected it to be a compilation of like other people's views and kind of convince people of what I think based on experts' point of views. But it's interesting to kind of turn inward like toward myself and just kind of think about my own thoughts. Like, I'm important.
Yeah, you're the author of this book.
I have a question kind of tailing off that, but don't you think that you're always interviewing yourself? Always?
I mean, I guess. But
you know what I mean?
Like a book, it's just weird, just like interviewing myself.
Yeah, because people can read it then.
Yeah, that's I guess like what's scary about it. It's like you're just putting yourself out there, which I mean, I guess everybody does. Right. That's the whole point of social media, but it's like a book, like a physical thing.
Yeah, you hold it.
How'd yours go for you, Daniel? I heard you were taking the voice of one of your characters, correct?
That was super interesting on my part.
Yeah.
Like, just to like, I don't know, because it felt like I was like in a theater class, like just hearing like the actor's portrayal, like improv.
I never thought I'd be in a theater class. It went fine.
Did you like it?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, good.
It was really interesting. I didn't understand everything I said perfectly, but I didn't expect it to. And
right, but better than Siri, right? I think. Siri misses a lot. All right, awesome. So with that, for anyone watching this later, if you have any questions, this one can be a little bit confusing. I know that the video was a little bit confusing, but everything leading up to this point, the video was confusing. But everything we did in workshops went really well. So just a reminder that if you missed tonight, there's an extra session tomorrow night, also in the PCL at 6 p.m. So if you want to come by and like workshop with me, workshop with other people who missed, we're going to go over this again, just so that everyone is clear. So that, I'm going to pause or end the recording here.